Let me ask you something. And don't answer out loud. Answer it in your chest. Are you the one who never complains? The one who always says, "I'm fine," even when you're not? The one who carries everyone else's problems but never puts down your own? Are you the strong one? The one who handles everything? The one people call when they're breaking, but when you are tired, when you are exhausted, when you are falling apart at 2 a.m. in silence, there's no one there. Because you learned something early in life. You learned how to survive. You learned how to be quiet with your pain. You learned how to smile through pressure. You learned how to grow up too fast. You were taught to be strong. And nobody warns you about this part. Being strong as a child doesn't make life easier. It makes adulthood heavier. It creates people who don't ask for help. People who don't rest. People who don't feel safe being vulnerable. People who carry emotional weight that was never meant for one heart. And here's the part that hits the hardest. If this video showed up on your screen today, it's not random. It's not coincidence. It's confirmation. Because the people who grew up strong are usually the ones struggling the most alone, quietly, secretly, behind a smile. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share might not just explain your past, it might finally help you understand yourself. When people hear the phrase strong child, they picture confidence. They imagine bravery. They think of independence like it's some kind of superpower. But that's not the real story. Because most strong children were not strong by choice. They were strong because they had to be. A strong child is usually a child who learned very early in life. Don't cry because no one is coming. Don't ask because help feels unreliable. Don't need because your needs feel like a burden. Don't depend on cuckoos because disappointment hurts too much. Maybe your parents were overwhelmed. Maybe the house was loud with stress. Maybe emotions weren't safe to express. Maybe nobody ever asked how you were doing. So you adapted. You became quiet. You became responsible. You became mature before your time. You learned how to read the room. You learned how to keep peace. You learned how to take care of yourself, and sometimes even take care of adults. You didn't get the luxury of being soft. You got survival. And survival doesn't turn off when childhood ends. It follows you into adulthood. It becomes your work ethic, your relationships, your boundaries, or lack of them, your constant need to stay in control. It becomes your personality. You look strong on the outside, but inside, there's a child who just wanted to feel safe, a child who wanted to be held, a child who wanted to rest, a child who wanted to be seen. And that child is still there, waiting. Here's what really happens when you become the strong one. At first, people admire you. They say things like, "You're so independent. You handle things so well. You're always okay." But slowly, something changes. People stop checking on you. They stop asking how you're really doing. They stop offering help. Not because they don't care, but because you look unbreakable. So the world treats you like you don't need support. And that's when you start learning dangerous habits. You learn how to smile while you're hurting. You learn how to show up even when you're exhausted. You learn how to carry emotional weight in silence. You learn how to solve problems alone, because asking feels uncomfortable. You become your own therapist, your own motivator, your own emotional safety net. And at first it feels powerful. It feels like control. But over time, it becomes lonely. Because when you always say, "I'm fine," people stop asking deeper questions. When you always help others, people forget you might need help too. So eventually, you stop reaching out, not because you don't want connection, not because you don't crave support, not because you don't feel tired, but because somewhere along the way, you stopped believing anyone would really show up. You tell yourself, I'll handle it. I always do. I don't want to be a burden. And that's the quiet heartbreak of strong people. You are surrounded by people, but emotionally alone, carrying everything. With no one holding you, that's the loneliness nobody sees, and that's the pain nobody talks about. Now let's slow this down, because this part gets personal. I want you to listen carefully. Let's see if this is you. You struggle to open up emotionally, not because you don't feel, but because you learn to hide it. You feel uncomfortable being vulnerable. When someone asks, "Are you okay?" your automatic answer is, "Yeah, I'm good," even when you're not. You feel guilty when you rest, when you sit still, when you take a break. Your mind tells you that you should be doing more, proving more, producing more. So you overwork, not because you love being busy, but because being still makes you feel unsafe. You overgive. You show up for everyone else. You answer calls. You fix problems. You listen. You support. But when it's your turn to be supported, you don't know how to receive it. You rarely ask for help, because asking feels uncomfortable, because depending on someone feels risky, because deep down you don't trust that people will stay. And here's a big one. You feel responsible for everyone else's emotions. If someone is upset, you feel it's your fault. If someone is struggling, you jump in to save them. If someone is unhappy, you carry that weight too. You became the emotional caretaker, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. And the biggest sign of all? You feel tired in your soul. Not just physically exhausted, not just mentally drained, but emotionally worn out, like you've been carrying invisible weight for years. Because carrying strength for a long time is heavy. Holding yourself together every day is heavy. Being the strong one without support is heavy. And maybe nobody ever told you this. But you're not broken. You're tired from surviving too long. And that tiredness is not weakness. It's a signal that it's time to stop carrying everything alone. Strong people don't usually break in public. They don't scream. They don't collapse on the floor. They don't make scenes. They break quietly. They wake up and still go to work. They still answer messages. They still show up for family. They still smile in conversations. They still say, "I'm good," when they're not. From the outside, everything looks normal. But inside, something is slowly shutting down. You start feeling numb, not sad, not angry, just empty. Things that used to excite you don't hit the same anymore. Music feels quieter. Moments feel duller. Laughter feels forced. You feel disconnected from people, from yourself, from life. You go through the motions. Wake up, work, scroll, sleep, repeat. Your body keeps moving, but your soul feels tired, emotionally exhausted. And here's the dangerous part. Because you still function, nobody notices. You're still productive, you're still reliable, you're still responsible. So the world assumes you're okay. Even you start telling yourself you're okay. You say, "It's not that bad. Other people have it worse. I should be grateful." So you minimize your own pain. You normalize exhaustion. You normalize emotional emptiness. You normalize surviving instead of living. And slowly, you don't collapse. You fade. You stop dreaming big. You stop feeling deeply. You stop caring as much. You stop expecting good things, not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because your nervous system is tired of being in survival mode. You've been strong for too long. You've been holding it together without support. And that invisible burnout is one of the hardest things to explain, because there are no visible scars, no obvious breakdown, just quiet exhaustion, silent sadness, a heavy feeling in your chest you can't fully describe. And the worst part, people praise you for it. They call you strong. They call you reliable. They call you stable. But what they don't see is that you're running on empty. And here's something you need to hear. Just because you can keep going doesn't mean you should. Just because you're surviving doesn't mean you're okay. You don't need to wait until you completely fall apart to deserve rest. You don't need to reach rock bottom to deserve support. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to say, "I'm tired," and mean it. Here's something deep that most people never realize. When you grow up being strong and you don't just become independent, you become a magnet for people who need saving. You attract emotionally unavailable partners, people who can't meet you halfway, people who come with baggage, chaos, and unfinished healing. You attract broken friends, people who always need advice, always need support, always need energy, and somehow you become the one giving more, listening more, fixing more, carrying more. Why? Because you learned a dangerous belief early in life. I exist to be useful, not loved, not protected, not emotionally held, useful. You learn that your value comes from what you provide, not who you are. So in relationships, you overgive, you overcare, you overcompromise. You accept less than you deserve. You tolerate emotional distance. You stay longer than you should. Because deep down, being needed feels familiar. It feels safe. It feels like home, even when it hurts. And this pattern keeps repeating. Different faces, same story. You keep choosing people who take more than they give, because your nervous system is comfortable with imbalance, comfortable with carrying emotional weight, comfortable with being the strong one. Until one day, you get tired. Tired of being the only one trying. Tired of loving harder. Tired of fixing broken connections. And that's when the shift begins. Because healing starts when you stop proving your worth by suffering. When you stop confusing love with responsibility. When you finally realize you don't have to earn love by being useful. You deserve to be loved just for existing. And once you change that belief, everything changes. Your boundaries change. Your standards change. Your relationships change. And the cycle finally breaks. Listen carefully, because this part can change everything. You do not need to be strong all the time to be worthy. You don't have to earn love by suffering. You don't have to prove your value by carrying everything alone. You don't have to hold yourself together just so others feel comfortable. You are allowed to rest, not after you finish everything, not when life slows down. Now, you are allowed to cry, not because you're weak, but because your heart needs release. You are allowed to need help. Needing support doesn't make you dependent. It makes you human. You are allowed to be soft. Soft with yourself. Soft with your emotions. Soft with your healing. You are allowed to be human. Not perfect. Not invincible. Not unbreakable. Human. And here's the truth most strong people were never taught. Strength does not mean silence. Strength does not mean hiding pain. Strength does not mean doing everything alone. Real strength means honesty. It means saying, "I'm not okay. I'm tired. I need support. I can't carry this alone anymore." That sentence alone, "I can't carry this alone anymore," is not weakness, it's courage, it's awareness, it's the beginning of healing. Because healing doesn't start when you become stronger. It starts when you finally let yourself be supported. When you stop fighting everything alone. When you choose connection over isolation. And if nobody has told you this before, let me tell you now, you don't need to be strong to deserve love. You don't need to be perfect to deserve care. You don't need to carry everything to be enough. You already are. And the moment you allow yourself to believe that, the weight starts to lift. Here's where healing really begins. Not with becoming stronger, not with pushing harder, not with pretending you're okay. Healing begins with honesty. Start talking about your feelings, not to everyone, but to safe people, to people who listen without judgment, to people who don't rush you. Let people show up for you, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when you want to pull away, even when your instinct says, "I'll handle it." Practice receiving, set boundaries. Stop saying yes when your body is screaming no. Stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours. Stop sacrificing your peace to keep others comfortable. Stop overgiving. You don't need to earn love by draining yourself. You don't need to prove your worth by exhausting your energy. And choose peace over proving yourself. You don't have to impress anyone anymore. You don't have to perform for acceptance. You don't have to fight to be seen. And most important of all, give yourself what you never received. Compassion when you mess up. Safety when you feel overwhelmed. Validation when your feelings rise. You deserved it back then. You deserve it now. And this time, you get to be the one who protects you if this message touched you. If something inside your chest felt heavy. If your eyes got quiet for a second, this part is for you. Wherever you are right now. Sitting, lying down, driving, alone in your room. Slow down. Put one hand on your chest. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a moment and slowly release it. Again, breathe in. Hold. Release. Now say these words quietly or out loud. Let them land. Let them sink in. I am allowed to rest. I don't have to earn peace by being exhausted. My body deserves calm. My mind deserves quiet. I am allowed to receive support. I don't have to do everything alone anymore. It's safe to let people care about me. It's safe to lean sometimes. I don't have to carry everything alone. I release the pressure. I release the weight. I release the responsibility that was never mine. I release survival mode. I don't need to stay on edge. I don't need to stay alert. I don't need to keep fighting invisible battles. I choose peace. I choose softness. I choose rest over rush. I choose calm over chaos. I choose healing, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable at first. Now breathe in again, hold, and release. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your jaw relax. Feel your chest soften. Right now, in this moment, you are not in danger. You are not being chased. You are not alone. You are safe now. And it's okay to finally let yourself feel that. If you made it to the end of this video, I want you to hear this clearly. You are stronger than you realize. Not because of how much you endured, not because of how much you survived, but because you're still here, still trying, still choosing to heal. And more importantly, you are allowed to be soft now. You don't have to stay in survival mode. You don't have to keep fighting invisible battles. You don't have to carry everything on your own anymore. It's okay to rest. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to finally live instead of just survive. If this video felt like it was talking directly to you, don't scroll away. Hit the like button so this message reaches other strong souls who are silently hurting too. Comment, "I choose healing so I know you're part of this community." And subscribe, because this channel is for the ones who grew up too fast, who carried too much, who stayed strong for too long, and are now learning how to live gently, love deeply, and heal fully. You're not alone anymore. See you in the next video.